So this forecast will be for the next few days. And this afternoon, if you have time to fish. We got west winds, as you can see. It has really flattened the surf, probably about a 5 out of 10 on water clarity right here in Ponte Vedra. The pier is north of us. Let's see the distance. The sandbars are very pronounced today. And if you haven't noticed, look at all the empty beach. We have negative low tides. So when you have a west wind and negative lows, that water really gets pushed out. Got to check the tides. They're pretty low the next few days. What's up, Buckness? Good to see you. But the sandbar is literally, you could almost underhand toss on top of it right now. So I probably wouldn't fish right now. I'd wait for the tide to turn and come in about an hour or two and then start fishing. Last February, when me and Matt were catching all those whiting on the days with negative low tides, you would have to usually get out there an hour or two earlier than you normally do because the tide goes out so fast. What's up, Cat? And then on the dead low, it pretty much shut off, and you'd have to wait about 2 hours for it to really get coming back over that sandbar again. But I mean, it's close. 2 hours ago, it had been whiting all over it. A little bit further out right there. So if you don't have a choice to fish the tides you want and you got to come out here on a negative low, you just have to watch the sandbar, and you want to look for the spot that looks furthest away from the shore. That way you know it's a little bit of a bigger trough to fish, and those fish might hold more. In fact, down there, goes out pretty far down there. Probably about 75 yards off the beach. And further down, you can see all that whitewash further out. That's a big old sandbar too. Man, this joker here though, is so close. I could probably wade out and get on top of the sandbar if it wasn't a 55-degree water temp right now, guys. I think it's like 54 up in Fernandina and 61 in Flagler right now. Let's see that. There's the sandbar running down the beach, so close. So about an hour or two, there'd be whiting on it if they're hungry. You're gonna have to be patient on a day like this with the water being so cold. Better soak the shrimp in Diet Pepsi. Entice them to bite a little bit more, guys. Tomorrow on Tuesday, the winds are supposed to be northeast 10 to 12. And then Wednesday, east 10 to 15. And then on Thursday, southeast 10 to 12. I like the southeast because that might actually, the water ain't going to warm up drastically, but this time of year, southeast wind tends to be fairly decent. And then it looks like on the weekend, we'll be dropping down again into 50s. So that water temperature, it might get like 59 this week. Catch a few whiting. There's your smoke in the distance. Probably clearing a lot. There's another. See the sandbar, guys? Not far out. You don't need no 10-foot rod. We could reach the sandbar today with a 6-foot rod at low tide. If you saw over the weekend, there weren't too many good reports from the surf. The only good reports I saw were from the river, sheephead, redfish, and trout. So that's probably still the same thing today or tomorrow. Until that water gets above 60 again, I mean, it's really probably going to be hit or miss unless you can might go around the inlets and find some deeper holes, maybe some warmer water coming out of the inlets after it warms up on the mud flats. But the water should clean up tomorrow with that northeast wind, and then we got pretty much northeast to southeast Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so the water should be fairly decent. I imagine Flagler will probably have better luck on whiting than up here in Jack, so. Or go even further south, guys. Some of the report, I saw some decent pompano coming up pretty good ways south of Flagler, so if you want to drive. If not, you'll be stuck to whiting in the surf and probably the normal stingrays, dogfish. No problem, Hank. I think either way, Kathy, honestly, when I go, I just put them in Diet Pepsi about 10 minutes before, but Chip does it right. You definitely want to dry them off, and this is why, because most of these sodas are very acidic, and the acid will break down shrimp very fast. So if you soak them too long, guess what happens to that shrimp? It becomes nice and mushy. If you want to see what it does, take a strip of fish bites and put it in Diet Pepsi for about 10 minutes and see how soft it comes. It really just, it deteriorates. You put it in water for 10 minutes, you don't have that problem. So same thing with shrimp. That acid will eat away at that shrimp and make it nice and soft if you have it in there too long. And then you probably throw it off the hook, or fish just pull it right off. One thing I thought of, you could soak, if you want to freeze them, soak your shrimp into Diet Pepsi, dry them off, and then salt the shrimp. So that Diet Pepsi smell will still be in the shrimp, but it'll also be tougher. So yeah, if you soak them overnight, have you noticed that they should be a lot softer? It really eats at them. I mean, when you put them in there, it doesn't take long for that acid to start working. And we're in a group on Facebook. I was telling some of the guys, one thing about the water temperature when it's cold, I was reading yesterday that the scents, like bait scent, doesn't travel as well in colder water versus warmer water. So not sure if that's true, but it makes sense. And so like when you have shrimp in the warmer water, that shrimp in the heat, it interacts with one another, so that scent in the shrimp smell disperses a lot easier, right? So in the cold, you got to think it's not traveling as much. So you add that Diet Pepsi, one, you're adding a sweet scent to it, but you're also, that shrimp's breaking down a little bit faster where it normally wouldn't break down in the cold water. So it's releasing more scent as well, so it's attracting the fish to it. At least that's what my theory is. I mean, because honestly, when we use it we've tried using it in the summer with the water was much warmer, and it just would fall off the hooks. It definitely works much better when it's cold water, and it gets that scent out. I mean, the theory seems right in my eyes when I was reading about how scent travels in the water when it's cold versus warm water, and then when it's warm, it just travels a lot better. So you need something to add that shrimp that gets that smell out a lot faster, guys. Maybe I should try soaking some sand fleas in Diet Pepsi one day and see if that works. It might, you never know. Thanks, guys, for commenting. Hope everyone's having a good day. I'm gonna get back to work. I hope everyone tied some rigs over the weekend in the cold and getting ready for that pompano run. Hank, I've always used Diet Pepsi, and in fact, my daughter, for her school, she had to do a science project, so she wanted to do it on, does Diet Pepsi help catch more fish when the water's cold? And so we went 3 times, and we had regular shrimp and Diet Pepsi shrimp. We had 4 rods. All rods had the same exact rigs, and we fished the same exact area. The first trip we had 19 fish on Diet Pepsi, 11 on the regular. The second trip, 11 on Diet Pepsi and 5 on regular. And then the third trip, 9 and 5. So the Diet Pepsi won out. And in fact, on the second time we went, we actually tried Diet Coke as well. That caught 4 fish, and every fish was about 4 inches long. The Diet Pepsi consistently was bringing in the bigger fish. So we went 3 times, and all 3 times the Diet Pepsi went over, and the Diet Coke did not perform too well. If we could figure out what the actual ingredient is in Diet Pepsi that makes it sweet, I'm pretty sure we could just put it on there and put a little bit of acid to break down that shrimp a little bit faster, right? But the Diet Coke did not work as well when we tried that as well. So that's that. I'm sure when she brings it to school, they'll be like, Diet Pepsi? That's okay. They don't have to believe it. Me and many others have seen the results of it in the winter, and just because something doesn't make sense doesn't mean it's not right, you know? But I'm going to get back to work. Thank you, guys. Hopefully, by next week, we'll get the water back up to like 64, 65. maybe. And the fish will fire back off. Won't be too long before we're seeing the pompano come. As far as the pier goes, I think they have 4 pylons left to put in, and then they'll start tearing down their trestle. No problem, Mitchell. If you want to fish this afternoon, it don't look bad. I can't guarantee the fish are going to bite good, but if you want to fish and you don't want to hit the surf, hit the river. Get some live shrimp on the float. The trout are eating them up if you can find a nice little area where there's a little drop-off or something. They're sitting in there just waiting for the food to come. Bye, guys. Catch y'all later.